Welcome to part 1, installing saddlebag brackets and saddlebag. So what we have to do on this bike, this is the 1997 Honda Shadow Ace, the VT 1100 C2. But this is basically the same for all bikes. You have to remove the seat, and there's some bolts here in the fender that you have to remove so you can put your brackets. Now originally it comes with a nut, and it's a 12 millimeter. Then we have a 10 millimeter little bolt back here. And then we have 14 millimeter that we're going to unscrew the seat bracket there. And as far as this bracket goes, it comes with these hex Allen key connection that you have to use the Allen key. This is a number 4 millimeter Allen key. So that's that. The bolts come a little long, so some of these bolts you're going to have to cut. You're going to have to feel, once you put them all the way in, how much they stick out past the nut inside the fender where the wheel is. So you want to be able to cut those, and we're going to use the Dremel tool to cut it. One thing worth mentioning is that when you work on a metric bike, you want to have a metric tool set. And how you know it's a metric tool set is everything's written in millimeters. The American standard has fractions, and they use like inches and things like that. So make sure you have a set, because you don't want to start stripping parts, because there is no equivalent to the metric from the American. A lot of people say that you could do that, but it's always a little bit loose and you start stripping stuff. Also, I have the Allen keys, and I have it in metric, and I have it in American standard. Also, I got the Dremel here, and this Dremel is going to allow me to cut. It's got a metal blade, and we'll be able to cut some screws down, and I'll show you little tricks on how to cut down screws without, stripping the threads and stuff, and how you could re-thread it with a bolt. So let's get started now. Let's take off the seat, and let's take off these bolts, and then we'll go from there. I got my saddlebags ready to go, and I got myself a little container to put all the screws in. It's always good to do so you don't lose any screws. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take the nut off in the back. So we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, we got that nut out. Next we'll take out some of these brackets. We're going to reuse the washer, so put that aside. Let's take this one off. And now let's take the seat bracket off. Repeat on the other side. So with all 7 bolts off, we have our washers here. We'll put those to the side. And now basically with all these screws loose, you could just pop the seat right off. It hooks into the gas tank. So here's our seat. We'll put that to the side in a safe place. And now we have our bike here. Now it's very dirty. This is a good time for you to clean off this area, because it's hard to get to once you're put the seat back on. So we'll just clean everything off, and we'll start installing the brackets and put the saddlebags in place. Okay, let's put our first bolt in. Now you might have to lift up on the fender just to line up the hole. Then we'll use our Allen key to finish the process. With the bracket on and the screws as far as we can put them in, you basically feel in the back here, and you see that they're sticking through. So basically just back out the nut, back out the screw until they're pretty much flush with the inside. And then we'll take a measurement and we'll cut that off the bolt. So I like it right about there. So now we can get our tape measure and measure this distance. This one doesn't go all the way in, as far as it goes in, and then it stops. So we pretty much know that we have to take about this much off, and this one's a little bit more. So the screws that came with the saddlebag brackets are 2.5 inches long. So we're pretty much going to take a little bit off, and we're going to make it about 1 3/4. That's what I measured out. The back ones towards the back of the fender, they're slightly longer, but not by much. So what we're going to do is we're going to thread a nut over the screw. And the reason you thread a nut is because when you back out the nut after it's cut, it will kind of rethread the threads for you if you marred one of the threads. So now let me assemble. This is the guard that goes onto the Dremel tool. And then it comes with this sort of little attachment here so that you could put the disc on. And what you do pretty much is you just back this off and you put the disc through there, and then you spin the disc and then you pop it back and it holds it in place. Let me show you that. So we'll put it through and we'll kind of turn it a little bit and it'll pop right in place. It's back through and it holds the disc firm. And you throw it in here and we tighten it up by spinning this nice and tight. And basically you can turn it on and it spins. Doesn't wobble or anything like that. Alright, let's go ahead and cut this one. I measured it out from the bolt and I saw that I have to cut it right about there. Now I'm going to wear goggles for this. Even though it has a guard on it, you never know. Once you get metal in your eye, you're finished. So put on some goggles and face the guard towards you, and we're going to cut away. The rest we can break away with a plier. Alright, so now that we got it cut to where we need it, basically when you thread through, you'll be able to thread anything that broke off, but this one is pretty firm, so it didn't break off. And we could basically sand that down or do whatever. So we got our 4 bolts. 2 are slightly longer. And we're going to put them on the bike now. So with our bolts cut in length, now we can just screw them in, and they're the right size. And there you have your bracket. Repeat on the other side, and we're good to go. Alright, with our saddlebags on our bike, there are some pre-cut holes that are in the saddlebag straps, and basically you take the string completely out. You try to figure out where exactly you want your bags, and you want to make sure that you have a little bit of clearance under the muffler. So I estimate it to be about the second one in and the first one. So we're going to run the string through, and so 2 on this one and 1 closest to the bag. So let's string this through. Alright, so we have the 2 holes lined up we're going to start with, and we'll just pretty much put these strings right through both holes. So basically, we've got the first string set. Let's now go through the bottom here. And we can actually, if you wanted to, you could pop out all the holes and just run it through like a sneaker through each one. As long as they're together at the end and you tie it in a bow, we're good. So let me go ahead and do that ahead of time, and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so I tied it up like this, around, under, over, and then over. And then all the way across. So now it's nice and tight. It ain't going anywhere. You have some excess string, you can tie it away or cut it down, do whatever you want. But pretty much they're tight. Now the other thing is, when you have the brackets on your bike, you tie these to the bottom of the brackets. So it stops it from flopping around. It kind of holds it in place. So let's go throw it on the bike. Okay, now it's a matter of just put it on the fender. I tied the excess string, made it so that it's hidden away. And all you have to do is basically replace the seat, but I'm not gonna replace the seat just yet. I'm gonna keep it open because now we're gonna install our power for our iPhone and or your Android device or whatever you have. So join me on my next video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helped you out, answer some questions. Leave your comments and questions in the comments. Make sure you give a like, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.